So, as always, first it is important to develop the right motivation and also with the right attitude and right perception. You should receive this teaching on triple vision or the three appearance or the three levels of perception. This has three main division. At the moment you are studying or receiving the teaching on vision up to here. Up to yesterday is the teaching on impure vision. So from today, you will receive the teaching on the vision of experience. And the vision of experience is indicated in the root treatise or the Vajragatha by Mahasiddha Virupa. In this text or in this treatise, it says, for the meditator with transit absorption is a vision of experience. So there are two subjects that ascertains its meaning. First, meditate until the common experience arises in one's mind, in one's mind stream. So this common experience means it's a common with the Paramitayana teaching. It's not uncommon Vajrayana teaching. Because the common vision experience refers to the practice of loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, which are common with the Paramitayana teachings. Then the second part is called the meditate happiness. At this time, thinking I will gain an extraordinary experience in the Vajrayana part. So the uncommon vision of experience is something that we cannot receive before receiving the empowerments, before receiving the Vajra empowerments. So these are the experience that we can gain after receiving the empowerment and after practicing the Vajrayana part in a proper way. So in the impure vision, it explains about the shortcomings of the samsara, difficulty of obtaining the precious human life, and also in that outline, it also explains about the impermanence and death, and then the law of karma or the cause and effect. So these four topics are known as the four common foundation, which are the part of small person and mediocre person. Or we can say these are common with the Sharavaka-yana teachings. Or in the Sharavaka-yana teaching also, it explains about these four topics. So these are the common with the Sharavaka-yana teaching. So the impure vision teaching is common with the Sharavaka-yana teaching, and the common vision of experience is the common with the Paramitayana teaching. So it is important to reflect or to study or to practice on these four common foundation teachings, because through this it can turn your mind toward practicing Dhamma, or it can influence or it can guide you to practice Dhamma, or it will make a strong urge for you to practice the Dhamma. So practicing Dhamma is not only for this life, not only to gain higher rebirth in the next life, but it is really to gain temporary result, which is to gain liberation, and then eventually to gain ultimate result, which is to attain the Buddhahood for the sake of all the sentient beings. So to practice Mahayana teaching, like loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, so to practice Mahayana teaching, you need noble aspirations, you need the noble aspirations, or you need a special intention, or you need the highest motivation or highest intention. Generally speaking, to practice the Mahayana teaching, it is not just enough to practice on the teaching that belongs to Mahayana. To practice Mahayana, we also need the motivation that is mentioned in the Mahayana teaching. So, just practicing the teaching that is Mahayana is not enough. To have a good Mahayana practice, we also need the Mahayana motivation and Mahayana way of practicing the teaching. So if these are not there, then even though you are doing practice on the Mahayana teaching, but still you are not really a Mahayana practitioner. So whether you are Mahayana practitioner or not, it depends on many factors. Not only depends on what you practice. Also, in the Mahayana teaching, there are many different kinds of teaching, like preliminary teaching, main part of the teaching, etc. So, the fundamental teachings of Mahayana are very important. We should not think that these are just a preliminary teaching. These are not the main part of the teaching. So therefore, if we disregard or if we don't take it seriously, or if you don't think that these are precious and profound, think that these are just a preliminary teaching, then it is not right. Actually, whether one's practice is profound or not only depends on teaching, whether they are preliminary or main part of the teaching, but it depends on your motivation, and also it depends on how you practice. If you know how to practice and if you have the right motivation to practice, then even the preliminary teachings can be a very profound practice. And if you don't have the right motivation and if you don't know how to practice in a proper way, then even though you practice the highest level of teachings of the Mahayana, still your practice is not a profound practice. So it all depends on many factors. It does not depend only on the teaching. Actually, if you know how to practice, then all these teachings are profound, are precious, are sacred. So here, the common transit absorption refers to the loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. So vision, the common vision of experience means through the practice of loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, one can accomplish the happiness for all the sentient beings. One can accomplish the benefit and happiness for all the sentient beings without having the self-cherishing thought, or one will have a unfabricated wish or genuine wish to accomplish the happiness and benefit for the sake of all the sentient beings without having any self-cherishing thought. So this is the result. Such wish or such thought is a result of practicing loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. So we should not leave practice just on practice. We should make this practice to be the cause of our own experience. If you don't make connection between practice and experience, then no matter how much we practice, no matter how long we practice, we still will not have a good result or we still will not have the inner realization or we will not have the wisdom, the inner wisdom. So it is important to connect between our intellectual understanding and practice, and also it is very important to connect between practice and experience. When we gain the genuine experience, then it means we have changed our mind, we have improved our mind, we have controlled our mind, we have gained something, some realization in our mind, or we have progress on the path. So progress on the path means the mind will progress on the path. It doesn't mean physical body or the verbal speech is progressing on the path. The one that progresses on the path is the mind, not the body and the speech. So in order to progress the mind on the path, we need to gain experience. Unless and until we gain experience, we cannot progress the mind on the path. Actually, mind is very powerful. It is the mind that experiences suffering. It is the mind that experiences happiness. It is the mind that performs virtue states. It is the mind that commits negative actions. And it is the mind or the mind stream that will go down or fall down in the lower realms and experience inconceivable suffering for a very long period of time. And it is the mind that will gain higher rebirth, or it is the mind that will gain liberation and the enlightenment state. So, therefore, this mind is very important. So, and also it is the mind that progresses on the path from first part to second part, second to third, third to fourth, and then eventually the fifth, which is the state of Buddhahood. So, therefore, our main focus, our main aim is to develop the mind. Our main focus should be on mind. We should focus on mind to develop. We should focus on mind to improve or to progress on the path. If that happens, then it means we are on the right path. Then that means we are on a proper path or genuine path. So we should not think the most important practice is to do through our body and speech. If we think that way, then it deceives ourselves. Although we might spend lots of hours or days or weeks or months on physical and verbal practice, but still we will not have good result because the mental practice is not there at that time. So if mental practice is not there, or if our visualization is not there, then no matter how much we practice, we will still not have any changes, or we will not have any impact. So therefore, it is very important to focus on mind, on the mental practice, which is the most important practice that we can ever do. Actually, all these practices that we have to do are through mind. It is the mind that needs to reflect on the shortcomings of the samsara, or reflect on difficulty of obtaining the precious human life, and impermanence and death, and the law of karma. Only the mind can reflect or concentrate on these topics, not the body and speech. Body and speech can support to, or can help us, can help the mind to practice. Like if the body is not moving, if the body is sitting, or if the body is not moving towards big cities or to a distracted place, etc. So the body can support the mind, but actual concentration should come from the mind. And similarly, the following teachings also need to practice through mind. So this common vision of experience has three main divisions. First one is to meditate on loving kindness, which is the desire to benefit other beings. Second is to meditate on compassion, which is the desire to destroy the suffering of others. And third, it is to meditate on the thought of enlightenment, which is the desire to gain Buddhahood for the sake of others. So first we need to practice loving kindness. Actually, loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, these three are dependent. Like the bodhicitta depends on loving on compassion. Without compassion, one cannot develop the bodhicitta. So bodhicitta depends on great compassion, and the great compassion depends on the loving kindness. So since they are dependent, first we need to practice or we need to meditate on the loving kindness. So here loving kindness means Mahayana loving kindness, or it refers to the infinite loving kindness or the great loving kindness. So to practice loving kindness, in the teaching it says, if we ignore about the welfare of all these dear and kind parents or mother sentient beings, they were kind to us from the beginning of the last time up until now. And if we ignore them, if we ignore their welfare and well-being, and if we just focus or if we just have the interest for our own happiness, then it's like seeing one's own mother carried away by a strong river, and there's a way to rescue her, but if we don't rescue her, and if the son or the daughter just live or just stay in a dry place with great comfort, then it means that children does not remember the kindness, or that children doesn't have the wish to repay the kindness, or that children does not have gratitude, and also that children is the object of shame, because that children does not have the wish to rescue her own mother, although there's a way, there's a method to rescue, but ignoring about rescuing her. Also, Jituru Thakpa Gyaltsen said in a song, "There's no benefit in liberating myself alone. Since beings of the three worlds are my parents, leaving such parents in the midst of suffering and desiring happiness only for myself is shameful." For example, in this world, if one of the family member is able to stay in a very developed country, or able to stay in a very good environment, or in very good facility, and if his or her family members are in a very bad situation, or in very bad facilities, then if that person is a good person, that person will not feel happy because all his or her remaining family members are in a very bad situation. Then if that person is a good, then that person will try to help, try to get better facilities for the remaining family members. So, therefore, as the mother has great affection or great love to her child, similarly, we should also have a great compassion, or not great loving kindness. He had great loving kindness to all the sentient beings without any exception. Because Buddha Dharma is a practice that we need to do for the sake of all the sentient beings. So our mind need to focus on a very vast object or great object. Actually, Maha means great, and Yana means vehicle. So it is called Mahayana or great vehicle because of 7 reasons, or there are 7 greatness in the Mahayana school or in the Mahayana. And like I think the last 2 are on the result, but the first 5 are on the path. And the first one is the great object. It means whatever practice that we do, we are not doing for oneself alone. We are not doing for our family members and friends alone. We are not doing for limited sentient beings. Our focus is on all the sentient beings without any exception. Since the object is great, therefore it is called Maha. So this is one of the 7 greatness. So one of the 7 greatness, or the first greatness, is the object, as it is mentioned by the great Maitreya Buddha in his text called Dodegen. Ornament of Mahayana Sutra. Ornament of Mahayana Sutra text or treatise. So, therefore, we should not ignore, we should focus on all the sentient beings. If you don't have such object, then even though we claim as a Mahayana practitioner, but in reality, we are still not a real Mahayana practitioner. Just by claiming, it will not become what we claim. For example, when a poor person or a beggar, if a beggar claims as a rich person, just by claiming a rich person, the beggar will not become a rich. To become a rich, you need wealth. Without the wealth, it is not possible to become rich. So, similarly, just by claiming as a Mahayana practitioner will not become a real Mahayana practitioner. To become a Mahayana practitioner, we need the qualities of the Mahayana practitioner. And one of the main qualities of the Mahayana practitioner is to focus on all the sentient beings. One should do any practice or every practice for the sake of all the sentient beings without any exception. If our purpose of practice is not for the sake of all the sentient beings, then no matter how many Mahayana teachings that we practice, and also no matter how long we practice on Mahayana teachings, still we are not real Mahayana practitioner. It is not possible to become a Mahayana practitioner without focusing on the infinite sentient beings. Because without focusing on all the sentient beings, we cannot develop the great loving kindness. Without that, we cannot develop great compassion. Without that great compassion, we cannot develop bodhicitta. And without developing bodhicitta, we cannot practice, or we cannot practice the Mahayana teaching in a proper way. As it is said by the great Sakya Pandita Kungai Kyalchan in his text called Domsum Ravi, he said, in the Paramitayana teaching, there's no Dharma there's no Dharma or there's no Mahayana teaching without the bodhicitta. So if our practice is not sealed by bodhicitta, then it means that practice is not a Mahayana practice. To do a Mahayana practice, we must have the bodhicitta, or the practice should be sealed by the bodhicitta. Otherwise, such practice is not called the Mahayana practice. So we need to practice for the sake of all the sentient beings. So when we have this precious human life, which is the best base to practice Dharma, and that also will not remain for long period of time because it is impermanence, and also we don't have a certain lifespan, and we have lots of obstacles to sustain our life, and even some favorable conditions can turn as an obstacle for our life. So therefore, without any delay, we should practice the Mahayana teaching. If some things that first one should practice for the sake for their own sake, then such kind of thought is not right. Because based on such thought, one cannot accomplish the perfection of self and other purpose. And also, that kind of thought will be a great hindrance for themselves to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all the sentient beings. So there's a story behind this. I think you have heard this during the Sage's Intent teaching. In ancient time, at the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, one of his main disciples called Shariputra, he I think he is going to teach or he's teaching to 500 persons, to 500 people. And if he gives teaching, then all of them will gain arhatship. When he's about to give teaching, so at that time he didn't start the teaching. So when he is about to give teaching, then Arya Manjushri came. And then, since Arya Manjushri is senior, so senior from the vow point of view, and also from the knowledge point of view. So from many point of view, he is more senior than Shariputra. So therefore, Shariputra didn't give the teaching and request Arya Manjushri to give the teaching to these 500 people. So as it is requested by Shariputra, so Arya Manjushri gave the teaching, and then all these 500 people fall down in the hell realm. Then Shariputra thought, if I give the teaching to these 500 people, then all of them will attain or gain arhatship. But then Arya Manjushri gave this teaching and all of them fall down in the hell realm. So he thought that it was very strange. And then Shariputra went to see or meet Buddha Shakyamuni. And then he said, today Manjushri did something terrible. Because if he give teaching, then all of them will attain arhatship. But then Manjushri gave teaching and then all of them fall down in the lower realm. And then Buddha Shakyamuni replied to Shariputra by saying, what Manjushri did is right, because if you give the teaching, then they will gain arhatship, but then it will take long period of time for them to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all the sentient beings. It's like if, for example, like if you want to build a house, from the beginning, you should not make any mistake. Once you make mistake in building the house, then to correct the mistake or to renovate, it's not easy. It's easier to build new house than renovating a house or to correct the mistake. So similarly, it will take longer time for these person from gaining arhatship to attain Buddhahood. So Manjushri gave the teaching and they fall down in the hell realm, but so temporarily they are fallen down in the hell realm, but then they can enter directly into the Mahayana path. Later they can enter into the Mahayana path directly and then can attain Buddhahood. So actually, by Manjushri teaching, it enabled them to attain Buddhahood faster. So therefore, it is important to have the right thought or right practice from the beginning without having any mistake. So actually, the Mahayana path is not that difficult to practice because actually it says it's a Jupadevalam. It's easy to enter the path, or the path is easy path. Huh? Also, like the word Sugata. Sugata in Tibetan we explain like Lam Deva ne Dibu Deva sort of Shakpa na Deva Shakpa. Through a comfortable path, one can reach the destination or the result, which is also comfortable. So therefore, it is called Sugata. I think Sugata means like from comfortable path to going to a comfortable result. So anyway, Mahayana path is not a difficult path to practice. And actually, to practice, we need Buddha field, and also we need the field of sentient beings. We need both these two. We need Buddha as our guidance. We need Buddha for his teaching. We need Buddha to develop faith. We need Buddha to take refuge, etc. And also, we need sentient beings. We need sentient beings to practice loving kindness. We need sentient beings to practice compassion. We need sentient beings to practice bodhicitta. So actually, the fundamental practices such as refuge, loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, all these practices are for the sake of all the sentient beings. Without the sentient beings, we cannot do a proper practice of refuge, loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, because if there's no sentient beings, if we don't focus on sentient beings, then there's no right purpose to practice all these fundamental teachings. And without proper purpose, we cannot have a proper practice. To have a proper practice, we need the proper purpose, we need the proper motivation, we need proper object, we need the proper teaching to practice, etc. So we need all these factors together in order to have a good or genuine practice of Mahayana teaching. So when we see a person who lacks the happiness, or who don't have the happiness, or who is separated from the happiness, then seeing that kind of person is the cause of developing the loving kindness. If you see someone who is really suffering, then that is the cause of developing the compassion. And if you see someone in poverty, then that is the cause of practicing the generosity. We can't say the beggars are the obstacle of our practice of generosity. It's the opposite. The beggars are the cause of our generosity, our practice of generosity, and not the obstacles. So similarly, the sentient beings, all the sentient beings, are not our obstacles, not the obstacle of our practice. They are the cause of our practice. Due to them, we can practice loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and generosity, patience, etc. So in short, all the sentient beings can help us to attain Buddhahood, because they can help us to do these fundamental practices. So therefore, in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara by Shantideva, he says there are two fields. So there are two fields, which means the Buddha field and the field of sentient beings. So therefore, just as we need to respect the Buddha, we also need to respect all the sentient beings, because they are also the field. They are also the field, or they are also the cause of our own Mahayana practice, which are the cause of our own attainments for the sake of others. So therefore, just as the mother have great affection or great love and or great loving kindness to her only child. Similarly, we should have that kind of strong loving kindness to all the sentient beings from that of our own heart. So now we will have a short break.